What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. Means we've got another Tuesday night of golf talk ahead of us here. And to do that, you've got myself, Justin Van Zuiden, alongside Mr. Notorious, Derek Farnsworth. Hope you're all having a great week. And Noto, how you been?
I've been good. Masters is officially 2 weeks and 2 days away, which is always a good time of year. So yeah, it wasn't the greatest week for me last week. You know, we had the supposed weather advantage where there were, 2 clear days of better weather for one side of the draw. Didn't come to fruition. The wrong side of the draw ended up being a half stroke easier, and all the chalk on the side that I stacked did not work out well. So it wasn't the best week for me. How about you?
Yeah, same here. I was really surprised that that didn't end up being some sort of edge, let alone flipping the other way. Did have some pretty good showdown lineups on Sunday. The leaderboard was a little bit strange with quite a few guys in there that, aren't usually in the mix. And then Jordan Spieth was in there as well. So obviously, if you know how I operate, I'm not playing Jordan Spieth. We both kind of tend to not play the no-name guys that are, I shouldn't say no name, but lesser known guys that are near the top of the leaderboard on Sundays. So thought it was a good opportunity to play Hovland and Thomas in showdown. They ended up finishing 1-2. Corey Connors as well ended up finishing inside the top 10. So had some good Sunday showdown lineups to salvage my week. The full week squads, because the weather wave didn't end up being an edge, were a little lackluster, but did have a good weekend. So finished Sunday on a high note at least. And we'll move ahead to the end of the Florida swing and into Texas for this week. But nice to see Hovland get back in the winner's circle. Really strong week from Thomas there as well, who probably would have won if he wouldn't have been over par in his first round. But it was an interesting mix of names on the leaderboard there.
Yeah, it was a good tournament. I don't know who we have for our, cover boy for the show, but Garth's already tilting. He said, "Get that golfer off my screen." So must have been somebody that hasn't treated him well in the past. We all have those guys. But yeah, Justin Thomas played great over the last 3 rounds. Had one of his better putting performances.
It's JJ Spawn, by the way.
Oh, JJ Spawn. Okay. Yeah, I haven't played him during this resurgence of his career much. We'll talk about him a little bit later. But yeah, JT, man, I thought he had it there at the end. Had 2 bogeys in his last 3 holes. He talked about not trusting his 3-wood on 16, and that ended up costing him. And then he had a bad drive on 18. And then Hovland just out of nowhere. I mean, nobody was wanting to play this guy. His price was dipping. His outright odds were getting higher and higher every week. I think he had missed 3 straight cuts before the win. And, out of nowhere, he kind of just finds his game. We've seen flashes of the ball striking, but for him to get hot with the putter along with the ball striking, I didn't really see that coming. But yeah, congrats to him. I think golf's a better place when he's, at his best. He's one of the more likable guys. All the videos with him, messing around with his dog and on the course, and just that smile that, he's always got. I think it's good for golf when he's in good form. So happy to see him win, but not a great week for me DFS wise.
Yeah, it ended up working out. My Thomas was higher owned a little bit on Sunday, and I had Hovland in my captain spot. So I was happy to see him flip-flop there at the end. Nice. Got me a extra little bit of cash there on with them flip-flopping. But in any case, that tournament concluded the Florida swing as expected. Of course, played a little bit difficult. Winning score got to about -11, which tends to be kind of what we see for this week's course as well. I'm trying to look at. I can't recall now. It's been a whole 4 or 5 days, but it didn't seem like there was a whole lot of big names that missed the cut last week. Of course, it was a relatively weak field, but Kevin Roy was disappointing. Kitayama was about 7 or 8 over par. Patton Kizzire punted his putter into the bunker on Thursday and then withdrew. So there was no shortage of drama from some guys, but what seemed like most of the bigger names at least made it to the weekend. So another negative there if you ended up stacking the weather draw. But anything else as far as takeaways go, or we'll turn the page?
Speaking of on-course tantrums, I saw Adam Hadwin try to slam his stuff down.
I saw that as well.
Set off a sprinkler. That was pretty funny.
He slammed his iron down walking after missing a putt, walking to the next hole, and just randomly slammed it right on a sprinkler. And the sprinklers turned on, and they couldn't get them turned off. So that'll embarrass you a little bit to make you realize that maybe you just take a deep breath instead of slamming the club on the ground. But we've all been there. It's one of us, a one of us moment.
Sure.
For Adam Hadwin. All right. Should we just turn the page?
Yep. Let's do it.
All right. Let's turn the page to Houston. Again, we got a couple events here leading up to the Masters. This used to be the Valero for a while. I think Shell was a sponsor, but now we just don't really have a sponsor for this event. So it's the Shriner Texas Children's Houston Open, or some mouthful that I cannot. There's also a Shriners Children's Open that throws me off. I can't with the name of this event. Texans Children's Houston Open does not roll off the tongue. We'll just call it the Houston Open for purposes of the show. No offense to anybody involved with the children there. They're wonderful, but we're just going to call it the Houston Open. Memorial Park is our host course for this week, and a very strange looking field with basically Scotty and Rory at the top, and then a whole lot of nobody else in terms of elite names. Which just looks a little bit weird as we start to dig into the pricing. We'll talk about that, but what do we have for a tournament host and course setup this week?
Yeah, so this course, Memorial Park, has hosted the event for the last 5 years. So we do have some data on the course. It's a par 70, but it does have 3 par 5s, 5 par 3s, almost 7,500 yards. So when you adjust for par, one of the longer courses on the PGA Tour. And I was looking at the GC SAA fact sheet today, and the rough's only 1.25 inches, which is nothing. At the Players, I think it was up to 3 or 4 inches. At API, it was at 3 or 4 inches. So I was also looking at Data Golf's numbers from last year, and the missed fairway penalty is basically nil. So definitely a bomber's course with all the long holes. We've seen driving distance play a big role in the winners. Jason Kokrak, Tony Finau, and Steven Yeager have all won here the last 3 times it's been played. So I do think it's a good week to load up on the bombers. If you're not long off the tee, you do want to be good with your long irons. Nearly 40% of approach shots are from 150 to 200, and then 34% of approach shots from 200 plus. So not a lot of like wedges into the greens this week. The greens are pretty big, but they are difficult to hit on average. So I do think around the green's going to come into play. This is played as the 12th or more difficult in each of the 4 years that it's been on the PGA Tour. So it is a tough course. And yeah, I kind of like looking at bogey avoidance. You can look at splits in Texas if you want. It does look like it's going to be pretty windy all 4 days. So guys that play well in the wind, I don't mind looking at that. Although those numbers are kind of tough to trust because they tend to be pretty small sample sizes. Stroke gain on difficult courses, don't mind looking at that too. What else are you looking at?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a course that caters to the longer hitters. Certainly the long iron guys, I think, are getting a bump from me because of those factors you mentioned. 5 par 3s, a lot of 175, 200-yard approach shots. So the long iron guys and good scramblers, and another course that tends to be what I think Yeager was 12 under last year, something like that, for the winning score. So not a course that guys are going to be making 8 to 10 birdies around. Another grinded out type of event. So around the green, scrambling, good drivers. And that's good long iron players is probably the top 4 list for me this week. All right, let's go ahead and dig into it. Mentioned we've got like the top 2 ahead of the pack, Scheffler and Rory. And if you want to try to jam both of them into a DraftKings lineup, you will be left with $6,400 on average for 4 players. Which really isn't doable. It's just, maybe you can take some shots in the dark and 4 6K guys get the job done. But being realistic, $6,400 for 4 spots is probably not going to make it work. So you're probably stuck choosing one of the 2 with Scheffler and Rory, and then there's just a huge drop-off. Right now, we've got them combined at about 55% ownership. We've got Scheffler slightly higher. Of course, we talked last week. McIlroy's been the one that's been playing better, certainly over the last month. But Scheffler, we know the upside's there. And if it comes to course history this week, Scheffler does have a longer track record at Memorial Park, whereas Rory is playing here at least competitively for the first time. So Scheffler versus Rory versus neither this week. Neither seems pretty scary. What side of the fence do you fall on?
Yeah, I think for me, everything kind of points to Scheffler. You mentioned the course history. It's also in his home state in Texas. And then you have the motivation angle too. I mean, Rory's coming off of his biggest win in quite some time at the Players. So he's going to feel good about heading into the first year or the first major of the year, while Scheffler hasn't won this year, which is kind of rare for him at this point of the year. So I think he's going to want to have a really big week just heading into the Masters, trying to defend his title there. So I think it's Scheffler for me. Certainly could see Rory coming out and playing well, maybe even winning again. But I do prefer paying the $1,000 more for Scheffler. I have messed around with a few lineups that don't include either. It doesn't feel great, but you do feel a lot better about the bottom of your roster. So I don't know. If we don't see the winner, it could be Scheffler or Rory, then maybe that type of lineup construction can get through in large field stuff. But I think for cash games, small field, I think starting with one of those two makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think you almost have to. I mean, and again, when you said you started messing around, I thought you were going to say with lineups that included both, and I was going to wonder what.
The problem with that, if we had the 5Ks like we did at the Players, I think
Right.
it would be a lot more appealing.
Yeah, but with it being 6K and let's see, we've got, as of right now, I was kind of scrolling through this while you were talking, but we've got maybe 6 or 7 guys under 6K, or excuse me, under 7K, between 6 and 7K, about 7 guys that are above like 2% ownership. So just not a whole lot there. Again, certainly you can throw darts if you want and try to get a lineup with both, but doesn't seem optimal at the moment. I'm with you in siding with Scheffler, which feels dangerous given that we were just talking last week about how good Rory's been, but experience does tend to matter here a little bit more. Obviously, Scheffler comfortable playing in Texas. You mentioned the motivation angle. I feel like the ownership might sway a little bit towards Rory, like it has with some of these recent events, simply because that $1,000, savings does help you maybe navigate the rest of your lineup a little better. We'll see where it lands, but I do think certainly starting with one of them is what you got to do in a single entry or a cash game setting, and then maybe not playing both of them, and then you get your second guy from the high 8s or the 9s. Which, speaking of, our cover boy on the YouTube page, JJ Spawn, feels really strange to see him as the third most expensive golfer with Rory and Scheffler in front of him, but certainly earned it by nearly pulling out the win over Rory at the Players, losing in the playoff. But if we're talking long iron play, and I kind of hinted at this before, I'm like the long iron guys this week, so that's right in the wheelhouse for Aaron Rai, who has some good finishes here as well. Just feels like a prototypical course that he should play well at. So my favorite option in the 9s is definitely Aaron Rai. He's at 9,800. We also have Minwoo Lee, Davis Thompson, Sung J M, Tony Finau, Wyndham Clark, and Jason Day rounding out that 9K range this week. I like Rai. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, Rai's probably my favorite too at 9,800. You mentioned the long iron play, and he's not a guy that gets it out there very far off the tee, but he's so accurate that he's actually top 30 in this field and stroking it off the tee. So he's just hitting a ton of fairways, and he's going to be, great with the long iron. So I do like Aaron Rai quite a bit. He's also been very good in Texas throughout his career, very good in windy conditions, which I'm looking at both of those this week. I have no issue with Spawn, but 9,900 is really tough to swallow. And I haven't really been on him during this stretch, so I probably won't go back there this week. I do like Tony Finau in tournaments. We haven't projected for less than 10% ownership at a course where he's won and finished runner-up the last couple of years. He missed the cut his last time out, but a lot of good players miss the cut at the Players, and he's not a Florida guy anyway. So I think you can get back on him at pretty low ownership. That's pretty much it for me in the 9s. I don't know if it was you or Justin, Bailey in the expert survey that said that he's going to have nobody in the 9K range finish in the top 10, and I could certainly see that happening. But yeah, if you're going tournaments, I want to do a balance. I don't mind Rye, don't mind Finau. Probably going to be fading the rest.
And that's probably the exact boat I'm in. So that was probably Justin Bailey with that quote, because I like Finau, or I like Rye so much that I didn't. I actually put that he's the wire to wire winner was my hot take. So
Okay.
hopefully he finishes inside the top 10.
Are you playing Rye with Scheffler?
I mean, I do, and it's still kind of tough. I mean, you're still only left with. Let's see if I put both of them in. Let me lock them both in here. You're still only left with 68.75, which it still isn't ideal. It's better in lineups that start with Rory, then you're still at least over 7K. But I will have a couple, I think, that start with Scheffler and Rye, and then you throw some darts in the 6Ks. But it wouldn't be my first lineup, I don't think, that has both of them in it.
Yeah, I think it's tough to do. So maybe the Rory Rye is a little bit easier.
It is. Yeah, it is a little easier to navigate if you're starting with Rory. Otherwise, I'm in agreement. I think Rye and Finau in this range, probably the only two guys I'm super interested in. Spawn at that price, it just doesn't interest me all that much. Minwoo, risk reward guy, I could see maybe using him in tournaments, but otherwise, with getting some of Scheffler and Rory at the top, it's tough to have overweight exposure on all these guys, or you're just running out of salary cap. So
I will mention Aussies in Texas is like a thing. So if Jason Day, Minwoo Lee, I could see it happening. I'm probably not going to play either. Speaking of Jason Day, I mean, withdrew the last time we saw him after lock, but he's out there posting YouTube videos. He's got a channel now, and he's out there posting a bunch of videos. So just kind of funny seeing him withdraw from an event while he's posting all these funny
Can't
videos.
Get out of his own way with that stuff. Didn't show up at Disney World this time, at least.
Just showed up for a exhibition match against Wesley Bryan. I saw that one the other day.
To each their own. All right, so let's go ahead and move into the 8K range then, where again, a lot of your more balanced builds, or this could be if you're starting with Scheffler, where you're getting like your second and third guys. Plenty of our dots in our lineup HQ page on various players in the 8Ks. Michael Kim is tagged by Justin Bailey. Bridgman is tagged by me. McNeely's tagged by Noto, and Hondizel. Smalley tagged by Justin Bailey. Grazerman tagged by Noto as well. So lots of guys in this range getting some love. Dietrich and Pendrith both projected for double-digit ownership as well. What are you looking at here in the 8Ks?
Yeah, I love McNeely this week. He's actually fifth in my model overall. He really struggled in Florida, but again, some guys just don't play well in Florida. Before that, he'd made 10 straight cuts with a win and 3 other top 10 finishes. He's 3 for 3 here with all top 30 finishes, and he's one of the best guys on a per-round basis in the win. So I do like McNeely at 83. Pendrith, you would think, would be a good course fit. He's gotten progressively better here each of the last 3 years. He's a bomber and a putter. He's around the greens, not great, but yeah, I certainly don't mind it. He's a good long iron player too. So I might have a little bit of him in tournaments. And Michael Kim, what do we do with Michael Kim? I played a little bit of him last week, played well again, but 30% ownership. Seems like everyone's going to start Scheffler and Kim.
Yeah.
If you're doing that, you probably don't want to do that.
I think I prefer putting him in the lineups where like you're not starting with Scheffler or Rory and you're going more balanced. Like, put him in a lineup with Finau at the start or something, as opposed to playing him with Scheffler, because that will be the starting point for a lot of people. Like I played him the last couple of weeks. I mean, I played him at the Players when he was 5,900. Played him a little bit last week. Certainly, projects well at that salary. But if that ownership holds, it's not like he's a guaranteed top 10 guy. So I'm probably underweight on it for sure if it's 30%.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you.
Although we've got Bridgman at 23 as well, and I tagged him, so I'm not gonna fade everybody in this range that's popular. I like the McNeely call. Bridgman, Pendrith hasn't been playing very well, so I think I'm out on him. Jaeger's got the responsibilities as the defending champ, fairly chalky himself, so I prefer going maybe to the lower part of the 8Ks. Bridgman, McNeely. I think Smalley's in a good spot as well. Another guy that profiles well for this course, and quietly, he's been playing some pretty solid golf. So Smalley, I like. Basically anybody from 8K to 8,400. I'm not a big Tigala guy, so probably won't go to him, but I think the others are all viable. And if it's you can hit it, spray it all over the place and not have a missed fairway penalty, seems like a good course for Keith Mitchell as well, who is 8K and has a top 10 here a couple years ago. So anything else above 8K for you?
Yeah, I do like Grazerman. So we have him projected at 4% ownership right now, which is the lowest of anyone above 8K, which is a little surprising. Missed the cut at the Players, but prior to that, he had made 17 straight cuts, 3 runner-up finishes, the best putter in the field. So, yeah, I like Grazerman at 8,100. I do think he'll be a little bit higher on than that because he was top 10 here last year. But, yeah, I think he'll kind of get lost in the shuffle, hopefully.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll be higher than what we've got him at right now, certainly, but not super chalky by any means. So, all right, I think that does it for the 8K range. There are plenty of solid options towards the bottom part of that range. Again, Mitchell as well, right at 8,000. We move into the 7s. Not as much condensed ownership here. It's a little bit more spread out. We've got a lot of guys projected in that 7, 8, 10% ownership range. Ben Griffin in here. Again, if you're prioritizing the distance, maybe not the best course for him, but he's certainly been playing great golf over the last 6 months. Another guy that's been quietly playing pretty well is Joe Highsmith, who finished top 25 here last year and a couple top 25s in Florida. So Highsmith at 7,800, I really like. If you're taking the upside, bomber angle this week, Jake Knapp at 7,700 is another player that I have highlighted. So Highsmith, Knapp, Kevin Yu as well. I played well last week. So those 3 guys, I think at 7,700, 7,800 are all going to be part of my player pool. You've got Harris English in here. Davis Riley has kind of come back from out of nowhere and is playing well again. What are you looking at in the upper 7s?
Yeah, a lot of the same guys you mentioned. I do think Kevin Yu is a good course fit. Harris English is kind of a hardcore specialist. We saw him won at Torrey earlier this year. He's actually 5th in this field in strokes gained per round on driver-heavy courses that are difficult. So I think he's interesting for tournaments. Patrick Rogers coming off a miscut, but prior to that, he had 4 straight top 25s, tends to play well on driver-heavy courses. The guy that I got to self-exclude from is Kurt Kitayama. I think I'm like 0 for 6 trying to play him this year.
He's been bad too when he's been off lately. He's had some rough starts.
So yeah, it's tough to trust him right now, but he is a bomber. It's funny, his off the tee numbers have gotten better this year, but his irons have just been the exact opposite. He went from top 10 last year to 81st in this field this year. So I don't know what to do with him right now. And J3's asking if we should fade Grazerman until after the tourney because he went to Duke. Might not be a bad idea, or maybe he's riding the high. I'm not sure.
I gotta check and see when Duke plays now. They, we don't want him out on the course there late on Thursday or Friday if the Dukies are playing basketball. But I think they'll be all right. But they don't play till 9:30 Eastern. On 9:30 Eastern. My goodness, I am so old that the first thing I thought of was, boy, that's late. But just,
are you Eastern or
I'm Central, so it's not as bad. It's only 8:30, but not to go on a dad rant or whatever here, but I'm also a CPA by day for those of you who might not be aware. So I work a lot this time of year. But like I've always been a big college basketball guy. I don't know where you fall in this, but the college basketball tournament setup on the weekends is so stupid because they put one game on by itself at like noon on the weekends, and then they put one game on at like 2 or 3 o'clock, and then they put 6 games on like throughout the night, and they go till like midnight, and it's just ridiculous. Like, why you got to have one game on by itself in the afternoon? Spread the games out throughout the day, and don't give me 6 at night. When I can't keep my eyes open anymore because I'm old. So I don't know. That's my rant for the day.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little better for me. I'm Mountain Time. But, more games during the day sounds better as we get older for sure.
I guess I gotta move to the West Coast so that the games are starting. Then the football games are starting. People are complaining about the football games starting too early. But that's okay. I can get up early. That's no problem. So the solution is to move. preferably to, someplace other than like California or some other state. But we'll find a good Western state. We'll move to Seattle or somewhere.
J3 wants your take on the Cardinals for the year.
They are not going to be very good. That's my take. They promised a rebuild, and then they couldn't trade Arenado. They couldn't trade Sonny Gray. So they're basically stuck in the middle of nowhere with no real plan. Yeah, I mean, the NL Central is bad enough to where any of the teams could win it, but hopes are not high in St. Louis. Though I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still going to be watching come Thursday. So, all right. With my college basketball rant there, I lost track of where we're at, but I think we're in the middle part of the. We just talked about Kitayama. All right, the middle to bottom part of the 7K range. Guys that are standing out here in terms of projections and ownership in the early going. I've heard some buzz on Nick Taylor this week. Ricky Fowler has a pretty good projection. I don't think I'm into that, but Sam Stevens, Andrew Novak are some guys that have shown some form over the last few months at various times. Bo Hostler in Texas used to be a thing, hasn't really been a thing the last couple of years. This is where kind of the lack of depth of the field starts to creep in a little bit, but you got anything that stands out in the lower part of the 7Ks?
We might need to get Jamino to take the cartridge out to the model, blow on it, and put it back in if Ricky Fowler's projecting well. Yeah, that's kind of surprising. But, yeah, Sam Stevens, Andrew Novak are my favorites in the bottom. Stevens, so one of the best guys on driver-heavy courses, one of the best guys in windy conditions, one of the best guys in Texas. And he's 2 for 2 here. I always play him on these longer, tougher courses. Andrew Novak's just been real solid tee to green. Not the longest off the tee, but a pretty good iron player. He also made the cut here last year. I don't mind going back to Nick Taylor. His irons have been really good this year. And then, I don't know, if you want to take the bomber angle, there's like Jesper Svensson. You got Celinda down here. Johnny Vegas has plenty of distance off the tee. Good long iron player. But I don't feel great about anybody. Maybe Rasmus Højgaard.
I tried that last week. That didn't go well.
And I will be playing some Bo. I don't know. Getting back in Texas. Hopefully you can get going a little bit.
Yeah, the Rasmus experiment did not go well last week. All right, I'm going to pop open the YouTube. I say this as fair warning because I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago when my microphone exploded. Sometimes it happens when I open the YouTube video, but want to gauge before we end the show if we've got enough interest in a snake draft tonight. Outside of Rory and Scheffler, the field's pretty weak, so I'm not sure. I don't know. I was waffling between just going forward with the snake draft or eschewing it entirely. We didn't do one last week, so but I do want some people, at least in the chat, in the YouTube chat, if you're around, to at least mention whether or not you're interested, so we can gauge whether to fire one up here as we get into the sixes. If not, no big deal. We can scrap it for another week, but I wanted to throw the option out there if there's somebody that's itching to do it and was upset that we didn't do one last week. So as for the lower part of the 7K range, I don't love it either. I mean, I think a couple guys that are interesting, right? It was only a few weeks ago when Noto had his 1 week dust off of Doug Gim, and that did not go over super well. And now nobody's playing Doug Gim again. So maybe he sometimes can't putt. A lot of times can't putt, but if he can at least putt it reasonably well, I don't hate it if his ownership stays under 5%, kind of the same vein as Johnny Vegas. Jeremy Paul, I think, is really interesting. He was in the top 5 last week heading into Sunday, faded a bit on Sunday, but he's been playing pretty well quietly of late. He's right at 7K, and you're going to have to get uncomfortable with somebody. Like if you want to play a lot of Scheffler, you're going to need to go to the values. And because this field is so weak, it doesn't look great. It doesn't feel spectacular no matter who you're choosing down here. But Paul will be in my player pool. And then, of course, my boy on the driver heavy courses, Ryan Fox at 6.9K, I will put in my player pool as well. So, all right, I'm going to check out the YouTube chat here. You can tidy up the 7Ks or go into the sixes if there's anything else you like.
All right. Yeah, it looks like J3 is in on the snake if we want to try to do one. pretty much it for me in the 7s. Go down to the 6s. Danny Walker, we saw him, be in contention a couple weeks ago with the Players. That was kind of fun. Very small sample size with him, but he's had some really good tee to green numbers in his limited starts. Don't mind Charlie Hoffman in Texas. He did struggle mightily last week and had to withdraw, but you can play him in the wind. Mac Meisner, I played a little bit of him last week. Played pretty well, 6,900. Patrick Fishburne's got some talent. Ryan Fox, I don't know. I mean, he was right up there for a while. Had some elite ball striking numbers after round 1. I think he ended up coming back a little bit. But are you playing any of your boy Ryan Fox, or did you already mention him?
I did, but that's okay. I'm in on Fox this week on a course that he can bomb it out there and see what happens. So, all right, I'm gonna join the $5. There is a $5 6-man snake draft that's empty, so I'm gonna join that, and then I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Oops, sorry, I put that in caps. That was not intentional. J3 is asking about McCarty. Yeah, McCarty is interesting as well. I think I've seen a couple of spots talk about him this week. He's at 7K. Actually, I'm getting mixed up with McGreevy. McGreevy is the guy I've seen talked about a little bit. I think I prefer McGreevy at 74 if choosing between the two guys, that Matt McCarty and Max McGreevy, that are going to be a constant problem for me to not get mixed up. But
so McCarty back-to-back top 20s. Is that on the PGA Tour?
I don't recall.
Checking. Yeah, at the Players in Valspar. So maybe he's back.
It's quiet top 20s. I wouldn't have guessed that. I'll give you. Here's another. We'll play another game. The guys who've played this event the last 5 years, at least 4 times, total strokes gained, and just in this event, Scotty Scheffler is first, Tony Finau is second, Aaron Rai is fourth, Mav McNeely is fifth. Who is third? Strokes gained total over the field in just this tournament the last 5 years.
Got to be somebody bad if it's a trivia question.
I'm not going to say bad. He's above 7K. That's the clue I'll give. I don't think we mentioned him. If we did, it was very brief, and I certainly didn't mention him. If you did, I missed it.
Okay, I'm not going to look. I'm just going to look at names in the above 7. Let's go. Seamus Power.
In the sevens. That he is in the 7s, but his 2 appearances here, miscut and 61st. So definitely not him.
So I wasn't cheating.
Yeah, definitely weren't cheating. I'll give you one more guess. In the 7s.
I'm looking now. Mackenzie Hughes.
It is Mackenzie Hughes. He is 14th, 16th, 29th, 7th, and 55th. Though I know maybe one of those years was played on a different course. But anyway, his name stood out to me. Like, this guy doesn't seem like he would belong here. But
I forgot Toasty almost won here last year. I think he bogeyed 18 to miss out on the playoff.
That's where he made his name.
And Scheffler missed a 5-footer to miss out on the playoff.
All right, we are full in the snake draft, and we're actually getting going. All right, I got sidetracked with Mackenzie Hughes. I will share my screen. I'm the only one home right now, and my dog is not happy about not hearing my voice and not being down here. Noto, you got the 3rd pick. That's not the spot to be.
No, it's always one below where I want to be.
1 and 2 would seem to have a pretty clear edge this week.
That's right. I'm okay with Ray.
Aaron Rai. If my wire-to-wire prediction comes true,
I did bet him this week, so I'd be okay with that.
And whoever it was telling me to draft Spawn, I didn't even get the chance. I don't like picking 6th either. I don't like any of these guys.
Garth in the chat has the old school RG logo. Shout out to you.
Nice. All right, I'm taking the Noto method. I'm going for Team Aussie.
Yeah.
Min Mooley and Jason Day worked out at 6 and 7, so we're going with that.
Jason Day was up 5 through 3 holes against Wesley Bryan, so maybe he's back.
It's not the highest bar these days.
I didn't end up finishing it. But...
Lucky I had enough cash to get in this. I got too many bets open and the random things that DraftKings has been dropping for opening day in baseball, and some of those boosted things, betting them before I forget to throw some extra money in here.
It's opening day Friday?
Thursday.
I'm not on MLB this year.
Thursday, opening day. Tomorrow's my wife's birthday. I've got kids running track. I'm trying to do taxes. This week has been a little overwhelming. Thankfully, I don't start my written content here. Cheese covers the weekend duties till I get through with taxes, so I don't have to worry about those just yet. But yeah, Thursday's opening day. And a lot of the teams that play Thursday, if they're in bad weather, like they keep Friday open in case there's weather or something, and then they don't, like the Cardinals don't play their second game till Saturday. So they go Thursday, Saturday. If there's a rain out, they can play Friday. All right, back to me. I don't think I can go Team Aussie here. I lost Team Aussie after 2 rounds. We'll go Smalley and McNeely, though. I like that. Where's the rest of the Aussies? There's not a whole lot of Aussies on PGA Tour anymore. They all went to live.
I know.
I didn't put my full 7-round strategy together when I did that, but that's okay. We're anchored by the Aussies at the top.
J3 with the Dietrich Mitchell pick on the turn. I like it. Said it dedicated to me. Appreciate it.
Helps make that lineup look better when you got Scheffler at the start.
Yeah, for sure. Keith Mitchell will be leading at some point and then probably miss a cut.
Go 66-80, something like that.
He almost did that was it last week? I think it was last week.
I think it was.
He got it to -6 and bogeyed his last 2 holes and then almost missed the cut the next day. Surprised Pendrith is dipping so much.
Yeah, that's a long way down there. I know he's been struggling. There he goes finally at 26. We'll see where Ricky Fowler goes. The projecting well Ricky Fowler. Oh, man, I wanted Kevin Yu. Haynes took Kevin Yu from out under my sails. All right, I am going to go with Stevens, and we'll play that driver heavy angle with Patrick Rogers. Maybe Kitayama will just be sitting there for you, Noto, when it comes back for you.
Nope.
It's there. Ricky and Kitayama.
Let me go with the upside playing Rasmus.
Oh, hopefully that just didn't work for me last week. Now the last time we did this was with Cam Young, and he was about +10 for me and about +10 for you. So hopefully it goes better than that. Though
I told you about his penalty the week I played him, right?
Yeah.
He left his AirPods in.
Cam Young looked okay at the TGL last night. I watched a little bit of that.
Is it the playoffs now?
It's the finals, which is like a 3-game series, and it came down to the last hole. I can't remember who won now, but Billy Horschel, man, if they played every tournament at the TGL. Like Billy Horschel looks like prime Tiger out there.
He's good on the mic too in the interviews.
Yeah, he just makes everything. He almost cursed in the on-camera interview at the end, but they caught him. All right, Hostler, last man standing, Bo Hostler, fitting. All right, that's it for this week. Noto, my earpiece fell out. Noto's got Rye, Kim, Thompson, Grazerman, English, Rasmus Højgaard, and Novak. At least you get a bench spot for Højgaard there when he goes the plus 10 route. Minwoo Lee, Jason Day, the only members of Team Aussie that ended up on the squad. McNeely, Smalley, Stevens, Rogers, and ended up with Team USA after the two Aussies for me. But all right, as always, it's been a fun show. We're just a couple weeks out from the Masters, so be sure to hit that thumbs up button on the YouTube stream. We appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel. You can know whenever we go live. You'll know when that Masters show comes up in a couple weeks. We'll be here to break that down for you. So one more tournament, which I believe is the API next week, or no, is that not it?
Valero, probably.
The Valero, that's it. Get the names mixed up there. The sponsor changes get me all screwed up. All right. Well, another event in Texas next week leading up to the Masters. And with that, for Steve, thanks to him for producing behind the scenes for us. And for Noto, thanks to him for joining me. I'm Justin. We hope you all have a great week, and we'll catch you back here next Tuesday, everybody. Take care.